Let's start with a foundational truth. No illness, especially as something as complex as autism, can be blamed on one single cause. At the EMF Project, we see health through the lens of what we call the seven pillars of health: quality water, exercise, sun, electrical health, sleep, nutrition, and emotional well being. When one or more of those pillars are compromised, especially during early development, the risk for dysfunction rises. And in today's world, those pillars are under constant assault. Autism is often painted as purely genetic, but that view ignores the massive environmental shifts over the last century. One of the most significant changes, our electrical environment. EMFs are now everywhere. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, smart meters, cell towers, and growing exponentially with each new tech rollout. Now here's the kicker. Autism is fundamentally neurological, meaning it's rooted in how the brain develops and functions. And EMFs affect the nervous system on multiple levels. That connection alone should make us pause and consider whether our modern tech-driven environment could be contributing to this alarming rise in neurodevelopmental issues. EMFs impact calcium signaling, mitochondrial function, and cause oxidative stress, all of which play direct roles in brain development. These effects are especially concerning during pregnancy and early childhood, when the brain is wiring itself and forming the foundation for how a child sees and interacts with the world. That's not speculation. That's biological plausibility backed by decades of peer-reviewed research. A pediatric neurologist from Harvard, Dr. Martha Herbert, has written extensively about autism, not just as a brain disorder, but as a whole body condition with environmental contributors, including EMFs. In 2013, she co-authored a paper titled Autism and EMF: Plausibility of a Pathophysiological Link. She lays out how EMFs can contribute to cellular stress, membrane permeability, and chronic inflammation, all biological signatures found in children with autism. An integrative physician who's been ahead of the curve for decades, Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt, draws direct connections between EMFs and autism, especially through the lens of detox pathways and epigenetics. He's observed that EMFs can mobilize heavy metals, block detoxification, and interfere with methylation pathways, critical processes in brain development. Clinically, he's seen major symptom improvements when families reduce EMF exposure. Two of the most consistently observed biological issues in autism is oxidative stress and mitochondrial dysfunction, and both are known documented effects of EMF exposure. Researchers like Henry Lay and Martin Powell have shown that EMFs increase reactive oxygen species and damage mitochondrial membranes. That matters because mitochondria are essentially the engines of brain cells. Damage them and you damage brain function. Here's one proposed mechanism. EMFs activate voltage-gated calcium channels in cell membranes. This floods the cell with excess calcium, which shouldn't be there. That calcium overload causes oxidative stress, inflammation, and even DNA damage. If this occurs during pregnancy or early childhood, it can derail normal neurological development, especially in genetically susceptible individuals. EMFs have also been shown to increase permeability of the blood-brain barrier, the protective filter that keeps harmful substances out of the brain. A compromised BBB means toxins, metals, and other environmental stressors can pass into brain tissue more easily, potentially triggering neuroinflammation and long-term damage. One famous study from Salford in 2003 demonstrated that rats exposed to mobile phone radiation had albumin leakage in the brain, a red flag for blood-brain barrier breakdown. Now consider a fetus or newborn with an immature barrier system being bathed in EMFs 24/7. It's not hard to imagine how this could create problems. Here's where things really come together. Toxic metals like aluminum and mercury, often introduced through environmental pollution or vaccinations, are highly conductive. When these metals accumulate in brain tissue, they can act like mini antennas, amplifying the effects of EMFs. This is why individuals with high metal loads, like children on the autism spectrum, may be more sensitive to EMFs. In our video on toxic metals and EMFs, the combination of metal exposure and EMF saturation can lead to neurological symptoms that mirror those seen in autism: sensory issues, emotional dysregulation, speech delays, and more. The sad truth: money and politics. Research into EMFs is chronically underfunded and often actively suppressed. Most of the funding goes to pharmaceutical solutions or genetic explanations. The spotlight on vaccines as the sole explanation for autism has diverted attention from other critical environmental contributors, like EMFs, that remain largely ignored. That doesn't mean the science isn't there. It just means you have to look outside the mainstream to find it. Autism is not caused by a single factor, but when you add up constant EMF exposure, heavy metal toxicity, an increase in permeability of the blood-brain barrier, mitochondrial damage, oxidative stress, you start to see a perfect storm, especially during the most vulnerable stages of brain development. This is why electrical health is one of our 7 pillars of health, because until we clean up our electrical environment, we're swimming upstream against forces that most people don't even realize are there. We're not here to make wild claims. We're here to shine a light on connections that deserve serious attention. If we want to protect the next generation, we need to rethink how we build our world. And this starts with acknowledging the invisible forces shaping our biology every single day. More to come soon.